Hi, I'm Kathy Holloway Hill, and I'm very excited about this upcoming episode of Living by Design. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's more important to be smart, athletic, or kind? You're going to hear some powerful stories today on our show, and before the show is over, I know that you're going to be saying it's much more important to be kind, supportive, loving, so that you can help change our community and live by design.
Living by Design is sponsored by the Social Health Association of Indiana. Bullying prevention, human growth development, healthy choices, preventing pregnancy, helping students make healthier choices since 1943. Imagine walking away from a 28-year executive management career in corporate America to pursue your passion of empowering the world, giving them the tools they need to live their dreams. The Living by Design Show with Kathy Holloway Hill. Impactful, informative, empowering. Take a look at a few of the guests that have been on the show. It's your time to be living by design.
Hi, I'm Kathy Holloway Hill. Welcome to Living by Design. We have a power-packed show for you today. I am so excited to have an opportunity to share this very, very critical topic with our community. We have with us today Miss Tonja Eagan, and she is the CEO of the Social Health Association of Indiana. Tonja, welcome to Living by Design.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
I am so glad you are here with us today. We are going to get some really serious awareness out to our community today.
Yes.
So let's just start off by telling the viewers about your organization.
So at Social Health Association, we focus on teaching kids in 4 key program areas. That's human growth and development, like puberty education. We do healthy choices and healthy relationships. And then we also focus on preventing teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, and bullying prevention.
Wow, those are humongous areas. Those are some topics that I think a lot of adults need to know about, so that's huge. Now, who are some of your partners that you work with?
Well, we're fortunate that we work with over 160 schools, and we also have supporters like the State Department of Health, the Department of Education, we have Department of Health and Human Services, Child Protective Services, so we have a lot of great supporters. We also have special support from Impact 100 in Indianapolis to offer bullying prevention, which you'll hear more about later.
Okay.
And then we also partner with Indiana University to evaluate our programs. So we have support from the School of Medicine, the School of Social Work, to make sure that we're offering evidence-based, high-quality programs that are impactful.
That's great. Now, if there is an organization out there that wants to partner with you,
Yes.
how can they reach you and get in touch with you? Or not just an organization, but anyone who wants to become associated with your organization?
Sure. Well, we welcome anyone inquiring or wanting to explore working with us.
Yes.
They can learn more about us at our website at socialhealth.org.
And that's on your screen.
Yes, or feel free to email me at info@socialhealth.org. And we would love to talk with people about how we can empower youth to lead happy, healthy, and safe lives.
Awesome. Is there any one area that you guys are like investigating or trying to get more information about that you really are seeking partners in?
Definitely in the areas of, I would say there's teen dating violence prevention, but really helping kids of all ages learn how to establish those healthy relationships, whether it's peer relationships, whether it's dating relationships, and that also ties, of course, into our bullying prevention and just teaching kindness.
Absolutely. The Social Health Association provides an outstanding combination of programs and services that really address some critical issues in our community, especially bullying and STDs and HIV prevention. As a matter of fact, this is the 25th anniversary of the passing of Ryan White. And you may remember Ryan as a trailblazer. He was an amazing young man who suffered with HIV and bullying. And we have an individual coming up who is a modern day trailblazer, And she is a brilliant, beautiful, amazing young lady by the name of Paige Rawl. And you have to stay tuned to hear her amazing story coming up on Living by Design.
Keeping kids happy, healthy, and safe can be challenging at times, but resources are available. Social Health Association of Indiana has provided education programs for children and their parents for more than 70 years. Our professional educators teach kindergarten through 8th grade students how to step up for kindness to prevent bullying, how to care for their growing bodies, about healthy relationships, and preventing teen pregnancy and diseases. Together, we're empowering Indiana youth to be happy, healthy, and safe. Learn more at socialhealth.org.
Hi, I'm Kathy Holloway Hill. Welcome back. I am so excited, just beside myself with just energy and rejuvenation and motivation, because I am sitting beside a magnificent trailblazer by the name of Paige Rawl. Paige, welcome to Living by Design.
Thank you so much for having me and just giving me this opportunity to share my story.
I am absolutely thrilled that you're here and you're going to share your story, because there's so many people that can really benefit from all of your experience. You know, Paige, we all have a journey. We all have a story. And I'm just so proud of you that you figured out how to turn your pain into power. So just go ahead and share a little bit of your story, how it began, how it started, and how it brought you to where you are now.
So because I was born HIV positive, I grew up like any other normal kid. My mom never made me feel like taking medication every day or going to the doctor every few months was anything different than what my friends were doing.
Right.
But when I was in 5th grade, that's when I learned about my HIV status, and at the time, I didn't really understand what it meant to be HIV positive. So I, just went on with my normal life being, a 5th grader and being 12 years old. It didn't really faze me, and then once I got to middle school, I had confided to my best friend about my HIV status, and I was actually bullied really bad because of it once everyone in my middle school found out about my HIV status, just because they were uneducated about the disease. Right. They didn't, understand that being HIV positive, it's no longer a death sentence. It doesn't define me as a person. Right. So I had a really hard time with getting notes put on my locker saying no AIDS at the school. Eventually, I had a nickname, Paige, that I was referred to as while I was cheerleading, while I was in the hallway.
They called you Paige?
Paige, like Paige and AIDS. Somehow, a group of 3 boys came up with this nickname and were telling kids, we call this girl Paige. And it was just really hard for me going to school. I didn't understand why just them knowing my HIV status now made me any different from when they didn't know my HIV status. So I had a really hard time, and I didn't get support from the school administrators. The counselor told me I could deny I was HIV positive, and eventually I ended up withdrawing from the school because the principal, she had told me, I wish you could go here, but I can't promise to protect you. And after that, I left the school and was homeschooled, and I'm such a talkative, outgoing person that being homeschooled wasn't my ideal situation, my ideal way of getting an education. So that was my moment where I was like, I need to do something. I need to make sure no other kid is being treated this way. No other kid has to feel like they have to hide their HIV status, because it's no different than having asthma. It's no different than being diabetic. So that's when, I started sharing my story and educating about the disease.
Oh my goodness. And you have to excuse me for a minute, because I'm actually floored by how the adults behaved.
I don't know if it was they just were uneducated, or maybe they grew up in, when Ryan White, that came about, everyone was just so afraid of, they hadn't heard of this boy going to school or someone going to school being HIV positive. They didn't understand that there was no risk. But, this was 20 years later.
Right.
And people just were still uneducated. People just didn't understand, I'm a normal kid. I'm just trying to go to school like anybody else. And, Ryan White, a lot of people have kind of referred my story to his, and I think, he fought to go to school. Right. At that time, people didn't even want him to go to school, and so now I've made it my mission to kind of fight for the right to be treated well in school. So it's kind of
equal.
Yeah. Just like any other kid, my HIV status shouldn't even matter. I mean, you don't even have to disclose to the school. It's just when I had told my best friend, this was just supposed to be a secret between me and my best friend, and she went on to tell somebody a couple hours later, and I went to share a drink with a friend, and a boy said, "Don't drink after her, you're gonna contract AIDS."
Oh my goodness.
And I just thought, this was in 2006. And I'm like, in health class, they should be teaching us and telling them, you can't get it through saliva, you can't get it through kissing, you can't get it from a hug or anything like that. But
exactly.
I didn't have that support or education, so that's kind of where I am, going into schools and making sure these kids know, like, hey, look, it's not anything to be afraid of, and just making sure that the kids that are positive, feel comfortable and feel safe when they're going to school.
So you came out of middle school because you were homeschooled. So did you ever go back to high school, or did you were homeschooled from that point forward?
I was lucky enough, I found a high school here in high school. It's just right here at 16th and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it's a charter kind of liberal arts classical high school. It was really small when I started there. There was like 400 something kids barely. And I had met with the school administration. I had said, this is what I went through in middle school. I don't want to have to go through it here. They reassured me that they had a no tolerance for bullying. Excellent. They actually called the health department and was like, hey, we have a kid who's coming here. She's HIV positive. Are we doing everything we need to do, to protect her? And just all of these things, it just was a completely different experience from middle school. I just had this amazing support. My sophomore year of high school, I finally had decided, I want to tell my classmates. Right. I want to tell my teachers. So I met with the school principal and I spoke in front of the entire high school. We did a huge kind of presentation, brought in someone else who was positive, had someone, reading a poem about HIV, and, had the education behind it in case, any of the kids had any questions, any of the kids, just wanted some sort of peace to know, they're okay. Yeah. And the thing that was different was after I spoke and kind of shared my story, the principal got up and told the kids, you'll no longer be a student here at Heron if Paige has any problems due to her HIV status. Exactly. So having that support and knowing that they had my back, they were going to events outside of the school, and I was just doing all of the things that made me me. Yes. I was a cheerleader again, I was class president, I was playing soccer, so I was doing all the things that, I should have been able to do in middle school, but I was just lucky enough. In my book, I call it my fairy tale high school just because I had such an amazing experience, and I don't really know where I'd be if I wouldn't have been able to find a school that was supportive and show me, not everyone is ignorant about the disease. Exactly. There are people who can accept it and won't have a problem.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier when you told your story that your mom told you that you were HIV positive.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about how did that all come about? Because there are tons of ways people can become HIV positive.
Right.
STD is just one way. If promiscuous, promiscuity and drug use, and so how did yours happen when your mom told you?
So when my mom told me I was in 5th grade, as I got older, I started having these questions of why am I taking this medication? I have asthma as well, and so I always thought, oh, I'm doing all this because I have asthma, and
you were born with it.
And I was born HIV positive. So my mom, she had contracted HIV from my father, and till this day, we're still not sure how or when he contracted it. He passed away in 2001 from an AIDS-related illness just because he lived in denial about the disease up until his deathbed. He just couldn't accept the fact that he was HIV positive. My mom and my dad were actually separated when my mom found out about her when I was just 2.5 years old. And believe it or not, I was actually a really chubby baby. The only thing wrong, I had ear infections. So my mom and my doctor, they thought even though my mom was positive, they're like, there's no way Paige is positive. She's just so healthy. And they did a test to make sure, and were of course surprised to find out, right before my 3rd birthday that I was positive as well. Yeah. So that's when I started being treated at the Ryan White Infectious Disease Center at Riley Hospital, where actually Ryan White was a patient. Yes. And my doctor, she was actually an intern when Ryan White was a patient there. Wow. And so, I just started going to the doctor since I was 3 years old, and this was just my daily routine. I'd been doing it since I was a little kid, so I never really questioned it. And then as I got older, I kind of became a more nosier kid. I wanted to know the answers to everything. And in 5th grade, in class they were talking about girls and guys, and they brought up HIV, and I thought, I've heard this word before. So I started listening at my doctor's appointments, and I was actually at the dentist's office and my file was laying open on the desk. And me, being the nosy kid that I was, like looked at my file and saw that it had said asthma, then said HIV with the plus, and the plus was circled. And so that's kind of when I went home and I was like, Mom, am I HIV positive or negative? And she told me I was positive, that she was. That had been why my dad had passed away, but she had also told me as long as I'm taking my medication, as long as I'm going to the doctor, there's no reason why I can't live a normal life just like anybody else.
We all know Magic Johnson, who is absolutely, have you ever met him?
I've heard him speak before. So he was at the United States Conference on AIDS one year when I was there and he spoke. So I've gotten to hear him speak. I was on the doctor show with his wife, actually, when she was kind of promoting her genes to some of the money was going for like HIV research, so it was pretty cool.
And we know that he has been HIV positive forever, and he takes care of himself. So the two takeaways with that is just that you're right, it is not a death sentence. You need to learn about it. And the second takeaway is that sexual promiscuity is not the only way. I mean, there's drug use, there's so many different things that, you really need to protect yourself and, just, think about who you're with, your sexual partners, ask what is your status, and then also the drug use. That's one of the ways too, so we have to be careful. Now, I want to ask you about your events. Do you have anything coming up, any public events, speaking events that, people may want to attend, or a website? How can people reach out to you and contact you? Because I know they really want to connect with you and ask questions.
So I have a website, it's paigerawll.com, and I post my events up there. You can email me if you have questions, if you want events. This month alone, I'm going to be I have like about 11 different speaking events. So I'm going to West Virginia, to California, Chicago, New York. So I'm kind of everywhere right now. My book tour, so my book Positive, I started writing it my junior year of high school and finished it during my freshman year of college and went with HarperCollins Publishing and came out in August. And it's just been another way for me to share my story. And I know I've told myself going out and speaking, if I can save just one life or help someone by writing this book, then everything I've been through will be worth it.
Absolutely. Paige, thank you so much. Sweetheart, you are going to live a long, productive, magnificent life. I just love you. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Your mind is brilliant, and just keep doing all the wonderful work you're doing.
I will. Thank you.
We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back with more of Living by Design.
Keeping kids happy, healthy, and safe can be challenging at times, but resources are available. Social Health Association of Indiana has provided education programs for children and their parents for more than 70 years. Our professional educators teach kindergarten through 8th grade students how to step up for kindness to prevent bullying, how to care for their growing bodies, about healthy relationships, and preventing teen pregnancy and diseases. Together, we're empowering Indiana youth to be happy, healthy, and safe. Learn more at socialhealth.org.
My message is just for people to understand, my HIV status doesn't define me as a person. It doesn't hold me back from anything. And just for people to think about what you're saying before you say it, because you never know how it's going to affect a person. You never know if that one thing you say could be, what turns them over the edge. And by the time you realize what you've said, it could be too late. And just, my mission is to get out there and educate people and advocate against bullying, and I am living by design.
Welcome back to Living by Design. We are now here with Stephanie, who is the Director of Programs and Evaluations, as well as Burton, who is the health educator. And we are so excited now to continue our conversation. And Stephanie, I just want to ask you, how prevalent is bullying in the state of Indiana?
Last school year, the 2013-2014 school year, was the first year that schools had to report bullying incidents to the State Department of Education. So that's the first year that we really have data for. But there were over 9,000 bullying incidents in schools in Indiana last school year. And we got to remember that those are really just the incidents that the schools know about and that happened at school. That's not counting things online or things that happen in homes and neighborhoods, places like that. That really high number actually makes Indiana the third worst state in the country for bullying incidents. And about 1 in 10 students who will end up dropping out of school do so because of bullying.
Man, And I believe that. There are a lot of other worse things that could happen. Dropping out is just one. Burton, how do you teach kids not to bully, or how do you help them to, understand how important it is not to do that?
Sure. Well, first it's important for us to explain to kids what bullying is. So our definition of bullying is the same as the Indiana state law, which is it's an aggressive behavior that's intentional, it's intended to harm, and it's also repetitive. We stress that accidents and one-time behaviors are not considered bullying, but they definitely need to be addressed. The name of our program is Step Up for Kindness, and what I think makes us unique is our philosophy of teaching kindness, compassion, acceptance, and respect. And with our older students, we're able to talk not just about bullying, but also about discrimination, prejudice, and also stereotypes.
Absolutely.
So we feel that focusing on the positive efforts to prevent bullying, we can bring about positive change.
That's awesome, because words can hurt.
Absolutely.
Words can harm. I mean, we know there are lots of people committing suicide as a result of this issue. So I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. Now, what can the parents do if they believe their child is being bullied, or if they think their child is a bully?
That's a very good question. So bullying is very different than it was when parents were students. So what we say is that we know parents mean well, but oftentimes telling a child to ignore the bully or to retaliate with violence is not the right thing to do, and it can be counterproductive. And also with fighting back, it can lead to more trouble. So we do encourage parents to contact the child's school if they suspect something is happening. That's always a very good route to go. What we try to do is we provide students with the tools to prevent bullying from ever happening. So what we try to do is we're creating a culture of kindness as opposed to a culture of cruelty.
I really, really like that. Now, I know the Social Health Association will educate over 45,000 youth, and that's a lot of people. And I know some will say that, young people just don't listen. They just don't listen. So, Stephanie, what can you say to the skeptics out there who believe that it won't matter? Whatever you do, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think the first thing is we know that they're listening to us. Most teenagers will actually say that parents and other adults in their lives most influence their decision. They don't act like it all the time, but they really do hear us. And quite frankly, our general philosophy is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it costs us about $5 per student in a classroom per session. And if that $5 invested in HIV or bullying education prevents a student from dropping out of school because of bullying or having to deal with the long-term health effects of HIV, we think that that's certainly worth it.
Absolutely, yeah, because I know as far as the skeptics go, it's not just about skepticism. I mean, we were talking, in between takes and in between the breaks about how there's just so much ignorance. And I hate to use that word, but I'm going to use that word. That it is, Paige, and I know that, you're very familiar with that. It's just a lot of ignorance out there as far as people not understanding, not realizing what the actual facts are. And I know that's what causes skeptics. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Paige's story is a perfect example of ignorance leading to bullying. The students in your school didn't understand the risks that could lead them to contract the virus versus things like hugging and kissing and holding hands and things like that don't. I mean, we tell students in our HIV classes that there's more fluids that don't transmit the virus than do. Right. Tears, sweat, saliva, all of those things don't transmit HIV. So any contact with those is perfectly safe.
Yes, exactly. And that's very important to know. Did you want to add something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think, when it came to everything I went through, if I would have had, someone coming into the school or the school giving education to the students or letting them know, I mean, now with that law for bullying in the state of Indiana, I spoke to the Congress and Senate to help pass that law. And, I was just telling them, if I would have had, now every school they're required to do a program in the beginning of the year for bullying. So I think, if my school would have had that, or if my school would have had that program for HIV, then the kids would have been educated and I wouldn't have had the issues that I had. So I think, it's great that, what you guys are doing, and just now there's that law to kind of help, further in the future to get these kids to realize it's happening and it's out there.
Yeah. So I think is what I'm hearing and the things that I'm seeing in the community is that it appears that we're going backwards when it comes to the politicians and the knowledge and the beliefs and the support when it comes to, HIV positive status. What can we do, Paige? Maybe this is a good question for you. What are some of the things that we can do to help educate these people and help turn that situation around?
I think just, we don't have, like a cure for HIV right now, but so the way, I look at it is the only cure we have is education. That's the only way. The disease, it's 100% preventable. So as long as you're in schools, you're not even, not just schools, but I go out and speak at different events to adults and to, there's doctors and all these different people who, they still have this mindset of that we're in the 80s, that HIV is a death sentence, that there's a fear of HIV. And, there's still people in schools that are afraid of, urine on a toilet seat. And there's things like that where, you can't look at me and tell that I'm HIV positive. It's not like in the 80s where people had those lesions. If you had those lesions or you were really skinny, people automatically assumed that you were HIV positive. And so it's not that case nowadays. And, with the kind of big epidemic going on, in southern Indiana, we're trying to pass a bill in which a needle exchange program will be available in the state of Indiana, not just for southern Indiana. It's something where, this affects the whole state. There are people out there, it's not just drug use. Every 9.5 minutes, someone in the U.S. actually contracts HIV.
Wow.
So, think about how long we've been sitting here and how long these segments have been. That's a few people already just this morning that are HIV positive. Wow. And that's not just drug use. That's through sexual contact. That's through, tattoos, piercings, all of these different things that are out there that people just don't understand. It's not just a sexually transmitted disease anymore, or ever it was.
That's awesome. I absolutely couldn't agree more. That's great information. And I tell you, this has really been a very powerful show. It's been a very powerful segment, a lot of great information. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Burton.
Thank you.
And definitely thank you, sweetheart. I am so proud of everything you're doing. I just want to say that please do whatever you can do to build up our community, not tear it down. You never know. You heard this young lady say that these cases are coming and they're coming and they're coming, and you never know what's going to happen in your life. So always be able to offer support, love, always embrace whatever situation you can. Let's make our community the best place that we can be. We'll see you next time on Living by Design.
Keeping kids happy, healthy, and safe can be challenging at times, but resources are available. Social Health Association of Indiana has provided education programs for children and their parents for more than 70 years. Our professional educators teach kindergarten through 8th grade students how to step up for kindness to prevent bullying, how to care for their growing bodies, about healthy relationships, and preventing teen pregnancy and diseases. Together, we're empowering Indiana youth to be happy, healthy, and safe. Learn more at socialhealth.org. Kathy Holloway Hill, founder and CEO of C. Holloway Hill Enterprises, is committed to providing her clients with the highest level of excellence with a special emphasis on employee branding. Their youth programs will transform our young people into future leaders. Their services can be customized to meet your specific needs, and the metrics speak for themselves. Let's get growing with C. Holloway Hill Enterprises today. Visit their website at www.chollowayhill.com or call 502-387-7701.